Hello, my name is Xavier Von Erck. This is the 7th supplemental video for a little retrospective. I'm putting together the years running pervertedjustice.com, which fellow olds might know as the website that created the show To Catch a Predator on Dateline NBC. This is a compilation video of 6 early stories about pervertedjustice.com arrests. Going to put these videos in chronological order of when they happened. Each video has some research and context to it, mostly just examining what happened afterward to each of these individuals. As always, I include chapter links in these compilations, so if you want to skip the voiceovers and just watch the old media, use the links in the description to jump around. The best 2 videos for the too long didn't watch crowd are the KIRO and WKRC videos, as they feature some pretty nifty footage of the police taking down David Gartner and Benjamin Brown. The first video was a notorious case for us, the Dave Satter case. Username on the website was LKG2RIM in math, which of course is shorthand for the liking to rim job in Massachusetts. Check out the mustache on the defense attorney. What a character. This story is from July of 2004.
Good afternoon. A man who coached kids sports in Sharon is charged with drug possession, but investigators are looking into far more serious charges.
News Center 5's Jack Harper picks up the story from there. He joins us with our live coverage from Sharon. Jack.
Natalie, Sharon's athletic supervisor is on administrative leave tonight. He was arraigned this morning on a marijuana charge, but the other charge, the more serious one Anthony mentioned, involves 2 things, a computer and a boy he thought was 15 years old.
Waive the reading.
David Satter grew up in Sharon. He's been a coach for thousands of kids. This morning he denied having marijuana, and his lawyer tried to shoot down more serious potential charges.
He's charged with a simple possession of marijuana. There have been a number of rumors that have been going around the town of Sharon in terms of much more serious charges, but none of them, there's no complaints of anything more serious than that after a search to his house.
The website pervertedjustice.com claims Satter carried on an explicit email conversation with someone he thought was a 15-year-old boy.
Absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense.
At Sharon's Community Center, where Satter was athletic supervisor, he's now on administrative leave.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah, very surprised.
You've been here a while?
I've been here 33 years. Satter's been with the department over 10.
Nothing ever in the past?
Absolutely nothing.
David Satter is well known around town. The rumors are for many hard to fathom.
It's been a role model for many years. I think everybody's pretty surprised, to say the least.
The Bristol County DA's office will say only the investigation is ongoing. On the marijuana charge, David Satter was released on personal recognizance due back in court at the end of August. Live in Sharon, Jack Harper, News Center 5. Natalie, Anthony.
Yup, if you saw that defense attorney in a movie, he would seem unrealistic. Anyways, this was Dave Satter, who was employed by the township of Sharon, Massachusetts, as an athletic supervisor and coach of kids in the same age range as the decoy character he hits on sexually. He went around the country coaching 10 to 13-year-old males in basketball, a pretty chilling thought. The picture that we posted on the main page sums it up. In the chat, Satter wanted to sexually abuse both our underage male decoy character and his 11-year-old friend. So, the fact that he was an athletic director and coach was definitely disturbing to us. We contacted his boss about the situation. The boss then confronted Satter and told the police. The police moved pretty quickly when informed about it, seizing his work computer, which had evidence of him using the screen name and having the chat with our decoy. When they executed a search warrant on Satter's home, he was busy burning metal and plastic in his fireplace, as one always does in July. He also was suspected of throwing his hard drive into a reservoir back behind his house, to the point where police divers searched the body of water for it to no avail. As you can see on the screenshots above, We worked with the police on the Satter case, and Jay had his hard drive mirrored for that case and a couple others in the Boston area. He also goes into some background on a couple other of his cases and some of the budgetary reasons why district attorneys didn't go forward on the ABC News producer in particular in Milwaukee. So while Satter did destroy one of his hard drives, the police did have evidence from Satter's work computer and our contributor's computer. The Satter case prompted a lot of discussion at the time. The fact was, the prosecutor told us directly that he wasn't interested in prosecuting the case without a quote-unquote real victim, given Satter's popularity around town. He felt like there was a chance of the jury not going along with the charges due to the lack of a quote-unquote again real victim. Satter's destroying of his hard drives wasn't something alone that would have gotten him to avoid prosecution, as we had other cases in other jurisdictions where people we posted destroyed hard drives, and we still got convictions anyways. Police in his area wanted him charged. He could have been charged. The district attorney would not charge him. So, what can you do? By this point, deranged groups such as CorruptedJustice.com that had organized themselves to smear and attack us were also mass contacting anyone we posted and telling them to destroy any hard drives and evidence, which we knew because we took over the screen name of someone that we had posted and saw the emails to the predator screen name with their advice on how to try to avoid being charged. Yeah, that's the kind of bullshit we were dealing with at the time. As I noted in the above post, the website was a work in progress from the very beginning, and the Satter case annoyed me personally, to the point where I had put it to the contributors to discuss a change in our no first contact of media and police policy. This conversation saw points raised on both sides, and I decided to try to King Solomon it right down the middle and start to implement first contact policies. This was something I always figured would eventually happen as we built credibility with law enforcement, but I sped up the timetable due to my personal annoyance at the Satter situation. As noted, Satter was extremely well liked in the local area, which played a strong part in his not being charged by the district attorney. As the above media story showed, people could not separate his public persona from his private one. They called it confusing, and still defended his character. Affluent areas are often like that, and the case has many echoes of what we would deal with later with the Louis Conrad situation. Of course, in the Conrad situation, he didn't succeed in deleting everything as opposed to Satter, who was able to successfully trash his hard drive. Satter would be fired from his coaching position, and his position as the athletic director for youth sports in the area. He would fuck off to Florida for a long while. Eventually, he died in 2013, so the story does have a happy ending. That's always the happiest of endings, really. Annoyingly, his obituary was filled with glowing and dumb comments. He spent his life helping others. He worked tirelessly with at-risk youth to keep them out of jail. In addition, David ran youth basketball camps across the country. Oh yeah, he worked tirelessly with at-risk youth to keep them out of jail. He almost went to fucking jail because he wanted to be with at-risk youth so badly. Fuck off. Fucking cunts. I swear to God. So, they didn't mention what put an end to all that shit, did they? Nah. Gloss over that one, boys. So, while we didn't get the conviction we wanted out of this one, at least he was booted from his position, immediately supervising underage males. Next up, we're heading to nearby Connecticut in December of 2004. The following is a video detailing the arrest of Marc Fox, aka Firefighter Fox 82.
Those who may seek it, we are providing services through our Employee Assistance Program. New tonight, a group of volunteers is taking the law into their own hands, busting online perverts. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Jamie Roth explains how they help police arrest a Connecticut firefighter.
He was listed as Firefighter Fox 82 in an online chat room, talking sex with a 14-year-old girl from Bridgeport. But the girl was neither 14, nor was she from Bridgeport. She was pure fiction, the creation of pervertedjustice.com. You've heard of this site?
Yes, I have. And not only are there sites like this, but quite frankly, corporations such as AOL very aggressively these days monitor the various chat rooms. And if they see that there is some possible violation, particularly involving minors, they're very aggressive at reporting this to both state and federal authorities.
Connecticut Attorney Richard Brown says lawyers and the courts are becoming increasingly aware of so-called vigilante groups like pervertedjustice.com. The website posted the firefighter Fox 82 sexual exchange online, and Newington police got involved, arresting 22-year-old Marc Fox, a Newington volunteer firefighter, suspended now that he's facing criminal charges. We wanted to hear Marc Fox's side of the story, but he wasn't home and he didn't return our call. Pervertedjustice.com has one goal: to help police arrest online predators. The volunteer group boasts 16 convictions in 15 states in the last year, 2 in Connecticut, 1 in Bridgeport, and 1 in Torrington.
The only drawback I see to this is that if people take the law into their own hands, law enforcement must be contacted.
But the website is legal. Think of it as a type of neighborhood watch, much like community groups who patrol their own streets or stand guard along porous borders.
PervertedJustice.com sends 31 volunteers, mostly from the Midwest and the West Coast, out into cyberspace. They use handles like Sad Lil Girl and wait in chat rooms, posing as teenage girls and boys, too. They claim they never initiate a conversation. They say they have never had to. Reporting from the newsroom, Jamie Roth, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Now, about half of the Perverted Justice volunteers are survivors of abuse. The site gets as many as 10,000 hits a day.
This case, as well, did not get us an additional conviction, but he was prosecuted. And no, it wasn't an acquittal either, or a hung jury, or a dismissed case. Instead, it was something far more annoying. Marc Fox here was posted on the website on December 10th, 2004. Follow-up found basically everything on this guy and his family. His brother was a registered sex offender as well. What was he convicted of? Okay, I'll wait so you can guess. Oh, what was your guess? Oh, did you guess sex with a minor? Correct! You're so smart. This is why you're watching my video. Just the smartest fellow you are. Who could have guessed? Yeah, Mark even brought it up in the chat with our decoy, for some goddamn reason. If there were a drinking game in these supplemental videos about delusional parents, well, you wouldn't die from being drunk, but you'd definitely be through a six-pack right about now. Yeah, the screenshot above is a great example of delusional parents. Not just delusional about Mark here, but also the other brother being a registered sex offender for having sex with a minor. Bang up job, shithead parents. Real good work. My precious baby boys. They could never. Oh no, not my baby boys. He ended up arrested and charged after follow-up flyered his neighborhood twice, mostly in response to how delusional that whole family was when they were contacted. So, he was charged in 2005, but as I mentioned, not convicted, not acquitted. The case wasn't dropped, and there was no hung jury. It's almost like a riddle, isn't it? Well, that's because this guy had a resolution that I had never heard of prior to this case. Some real moronic shit called accelerated rehabilitation. I've gone on in other supplementals about how the laws vary greatly from state to state. Well, Connecticut is so determined to be soft on crime that they have this program called accelerated rehabilitation. A program that gives persons charged with a crime or motor vehicle violation for the first time a second chance. The person is placed on probation for up to 2 years. If probation is completed satisfactorily, The charges are then dismissed. So due to this weirdness, I never posted him as a conviction, and he doesn't count as an acquittal either. Just an annoying soft-on-crime measure that does nobody any real good. But on the other hand, and to be fair, I did Google old Mark here, and I never did find him being convicted of anything else. So who knows, maybe he was rehabilitated, and my black heart is the one that is in the wrong for finding such measures to be stupid as hell. You can decide. As for Mark and his registered sex offender brother, they hang out on Facebook wanking each other off with videos of firefighters doing this, that, or whatever. Almost like a fetish. Who knows, maybe they're both firefighters today. I really couldn't tell if they were just fanboying it up on Facebook about firefighters, or they're also firefighters themselves. Regardless, there was a lot of firefighter content. So hey, they don't like fire. I don't like fire. At least I can give them that. And from here on out, we're heading to Conviction Town. Full stop. No breaks. First up, Benjamin Brown in Ohio. The video follows, including some sweet takedown footage of old Benjamin here. This arrest and video is back from December 29th, 2004.
Good evening, I'm Paula Todi in for Robin Kitt. Up first tonight, a developing story. An internet website once again helps police arrested a local man they say attempts to meet a 13-year-old girl for sex. The 58-year-old is a convicted felon with a previous sex crime arrest. Now investigators fear Benjamin Brown may have victimized other children. Local 12 reporter Joelle Derone is following this developing story and has more on the man police are now calling the punctual pedophile. Joelle.
Paula, Trenton police say they busted Brown at exactly the time and place he agreed to meet what he thought was a 13-year-old over the internet. The location, Hopewell Elementary School in Westchester.
This is police video of a takedown. Trenton officers say at 1 o'clock they met and arrested a local man who was trying to arrange sex with what he thought was a 13-year-old girl he met online. To Benjamin Brown's eyes, police say he was in fact chatting with an adult from this website the entire time, and say the explicit sexual conversations led to this bust in the parking lot of a Westchester school.
As we were able to verify it, then they became very good witnesses for us and were very forthcoming with all the information.
Cyber sleuths from pervertedjustice.com handed Brown's online chats and sexual photos over to Trenton police. Officers say Brown, who is an already convicted rapist, admitted to the planned sexual encounter.
He had informed us that the intention was to take her to a hotel, a local hotel room, and have sexual contact with her.
Officers say Brown had another man in his trunk at the time of the arrest, but that person was cleared of any wrongdoing. Their work continues.
We then served a search warrant on his home. We've retrieved a computer as well as some photographs, some videotapes, a lot of note writings.
Writings and addresses officers say they fear could point to actual child victims here in the tri-state. A virtual dilemma that will keep law enforcement chatting for some time.
And tonight, Benjamin Brown is in the Middletown jail charged with attempted unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. If found guilty, he could face as many as 5 years in prison. And police say there could be more charges filed. Paula.
All right, thank you, Joelle. Well, Brown is a delivery driver for the Cincinnati Enquirer. As we mentioned, authorities are concerned there are more victims out there. If you have any information, you're urged to call our partners at Crime Stoppers. The number 352-3040. You can remain anonymous. The website pervertedjustice.com also helped to arrest a local prominent lawyer. A Hamilton County grand jury indicted Rob Andrews on a handful of sex-related charges earlier this month. The folks at the website contacted local authorities after an online chat.
Oh, Chief Rodney Hale, I like you as much today as I did back then. Police saying nice things never really got old. We also graduated from online vigilantes to cyber sleuths in this story as well. Imagine that. Now, I want you to take a look at this main page posted picture and say it with me. 25 years old? Come on, son. This guy didn't even look his legitimate age. He looked far older than 58 to me. So, Benjamin Brown here was convicted of burglary and rape in 1985. The victim, of course, was a minor around the same age as our decoy profile. There was even more than what was noted in the video that made this case extremely disturbing. Yeah, he had a big knife, duct tape, and rope. And he brought along his 17-year-old stepson, who he apparently told was going to get to have sex with a woman they were picking up at a junior high school. The police declined to charge the stepson because they couldn't definitively prove that he knew. But let's be fucking real, okay? He fucking knew what was up. He absolutely fucking knew what was up. You will never convince me otherwise. Had it been a real girl, they would have kidnapped her, they would have tied her up, and they would have raped her. But let's not stop there. Brown was also found at his home to have tons of notes on other underage females he had talked with online, a literal encyclopedia of his grooming attempts. He was taking notes and attempting to stalk them. An updated video about the arrest showed stacks of over 200, mind you, email addresses he had for women and teens, and talked about the dozens of pictures he had in his apartment of those he was attempting to groom and solicit. That the meetup was at a junior high school pissed off the judge something fierce. It pissed her off so much that she tore up the plea agreement between the prosecutor and Brown's attorney, slapping on an extra year of incarceration and sentencing him to Ohio's highest level of sex offender classification. Still, only 4 years for a convicted rapist, with all those extra details about his rape kit, his notes on other potential victims. Simply not enough for a monster like this one. Benjamin Brown was so pissed off about being sentenced to the highest level of sex offender classification that he appealed it to the Supreme Court of Ohio, who correctly ruled that he could get fucked and that he deserved his classification. Well, they didn't quite put it that way, but they really should have. The gall on this asshole to even try to appeal that. What a fucking prick. This was the first arrest for us by a contributor named Maxwell House, who ended up being one of our very best volunteers of all time. She was so invaluable in so many ways that if I were to start listing them, this video would double in length. Needless to say, she will feature prominently when I start posting a long friggin' fight detailing the entire history of the organization. As a teaser, in the news video, it referenced a person named J. Robert Andrews. For the half dozen or so that watch these videos, remember that name. There is a long and absolutely insane story that will deserve its own little short video at some point about J. Robert Andrews. Some things are so ridiculous that you could not make them up easily for a fictional story. Benjamin Brown's sex offender pictures were nightmare fuel. He tried to move to North Carolina to escape the Ohio classification, but it followed him. Benjamin Brown finally fucking died at the end of 2024, almost exactly 20 years to the day of his arrest in 2004. Far too long lingering on the earth, given that he looked like he was nearly 90 when he was only 58 years old. Of course, even in death, he ended up annoying me. On the obituary memorial website set up by the funeral home, they had this long video of photos of Benjamin Brown that someone in his family must have given them to put into a video. The video is something else indeed, and, most disturbingly, features around a dozen pictures of him and some significant other of his being around some blonde girl relative that couldn't have been more than 8 years old. This complete evil monster, this horror of a human being, and people just look past it to the point where they bring young underage girls around him, even though he has a long history of abusing them. Chalk it up to my cold black heart, but I will never, ever, ever, never understand human beings. 8 billion people on the planet, and this is who someone chooses to be around. who they choose to bring a young female around. Googling all these guys years later doesn't make me less of a misanthrope. But he's dead, and that's good. One of the worst guys we ever caught. From Ohio, time to trip over to Washington State in the Pacific Northwest, fast forwarding from December 2004 to February of 2005. Let's have KIRO News tell the tale.
You're watching KIRO 7 Eyewitness News, the only local news and weather at 6.
And new here on KIRO 7 Eyewitness News at 6, a shadowy group of internet vigilantes is watching out for your kids by posing as children online. They call themselves Perverted Justice. Our South Sound reporter Kevin McCarty shows us how they set up, expose, and even catch pedophiles lurking online to lure kids into sex.
He's a man police call a sexual predator. He came to this park in Lakewood one afternoon to meet a 13-year-old girl that he'd met in an internet chat room. What he didn't realize is that he'd been set up in an online sting and was about to get the surprise of his life.
Don't know, could be heavy-set guy walking towards the bathroom.
The man you're looking at is 41-year-old David Gartner.
Now, he matches exactly what he told our gal in the chat room.
Gartner eyes a park where a meeting is to take place. But there's no teenage girl waiting to meet him here, just a small army of Lakewood police officers. But how did police catch up to this accused sexual predator at all? Through the work of a little-known group of internet vigilantes called Perverted Justice.
He was looking for a kid that night, and unfortunately for him, he found one of our kids.
What was he after?
He was after sex. He was after every kind of sex imaginable.
Xavier Von Erck is the founder and director of Perverted Justice. Von Erck, who lives just outside Portland, says he started the volunteer organization because of what he saw going on inside internet chat rooms.
And you would see the disgusting chats every day in an open area. You'd see actual kids come in, and you'd see older males trying to solicit them, and it was disgusting.
So Von Erck and a friend came up with the idea of posing as underage kids to gather information on sexual predators online. Perverted Justice will then log the predator's intentions, personal information, even pictures sent over the internet. It's all posted on their website for the world to see.
It gives everyone around them the knowledge of what this person does in the dark, so to speak.
235, blue eyes, light brown hair.
And then there are cases like David Gartner, where Perverted Justice takes information to police.
And we were contacted here a few months ago and given a subject that was trying to solicit a teenage girl to meet him.
Lead undercover detective John Unfred spoke to KIRO 7 on the condition we protect his identity. Unfred says because of Perverted Justice, Lakewood investigators had a clear picture of Gartner's motives through his online chat logs.
All right, that's going to be our guy.
Detectives then set up a meeting with Gartner and what he reportedly believes to be a 13-year-old girl. Gartner shows up right on time, but then suddenly decides to leave, so Lakewood officers move in. They corner Gartner a few blocks away.
Throw the window down! Throw the keys out! Do it now! Throw the keys out! Hands out the window! Take your left hand! Undo your seatbelt!
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law.
Your Honor, this is State versus David Allen Gartner.
Within 24 hours, Gartner is standing before a judge charged with attempted rape of a child and communication with a minor for immoral purposes. He pleads not guilty. Police say a search of Gartner's home reveals even more potential evidence.
We found tons of videotapes, several computers. We're still sorting through the computers. There's information.
He just said, hey, would you like to meet?
Von Erck says Gartner's case is not unique. Perverted Justice has worked with dozens of police departments around the country, targeting alleged online predators in nearly every state.
We've had, since just December, around 30 arrests. And since December, we've also had 6 convictions. So this happens pretty often, and they come to meet pretty often. There's no shortage of guys like David in these rooms.
David Gartner's chat with Perverted Justice hasn't been posted online yet because he hasn't been convicted. His trial is set for June 28th. If you want to learn more about Perverted Justice, just go to our website at KIROTV.com. In Lakewood, Kevin McCarty, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
He called us a little-known group. Come on, Pally. We're already on Dateline by this point and watched by over 8 million people. The reporter on this one came all the way down to Portland, Oregon to interview me. I still don't know why. The footage on the arrest was good enough, nay, great enough, without interviewing my schlubby arse. Personally, I would have just played the take down and arrested the guy a couple more times rather than talk to me. Amusingly, I was lazy and had him interview me at the park a block away from my apartment where I played pickup basketball. The praise from police in this, again, was always nice to hear. The police that worked with us loved us for the most part, was pretty much always the case. And we loved videos from the police perspective where they took these guys down. This one was a great one, especially the Chad cop jumping into the back of the pickup bed with his gun pointed at Gartner's head. Just great footage. Just like earlier in the video in Connecticut, this idiot also got some stupid little thing that gave him a lighter sentence because he was a first-time offender. The contributor on this decoy chat, Almond Joy, explains it in the screenshot above at the time. Much like Benjamin Brown, this is also an example of the first arrest of a great volunteer. Almond Joy did this chat and worked with police on this arrest. She was one of our rock-solid long-term volunteers, always did great chats, never caused any drama, has the trivia of being the person involved with our very last piece of work, dealing with the retrial of Stephen Deck in 2018, which again resulted in his conviction due to her work. David Gartner is around 61 years old today and lives in a house in Washington State, close to where he was arrested to begin with. I couldn't really find much else on the guy. He has no social media that I could find, and I hadn't seen anything where he was convicted of anything else. And now we head off to Texas for our final two videos and stories in this supplemental. First up, stopping off in Harris County, Texas with KPHO. This news piece is from January of 2006.
We are beginning with a suspected child predator, a man claiming to be a City of Houston employee who was caught on the web. And we've learned that a group of internet watchdogs helped police make the arrest.
The suspect was taken into custody at his home in the 3500 block of Campfield Road. 11 News reporter Jeff McShann shows us the evidence and who helped police get it.
Tuesday afternoon, 11 News was there when 55-year-old Thomas Randall Jennings was arrested and charged with solicitation of a minor. He was arrested at his home in Katy and is being held in the Harris County Jail on $30,000 bond. Harris County tells 11 News to learn why Jennings was arrested, all we had to do was check out this website, pervertedjustice.com, a website started by a man calling himself Xavier Von Erck, who says he wants to protect children.
What we do is we go into chat rooms posing as 10 to 15-year-old males or females, and we just sit. And in this case, Jennings hit on one of our profiles that was of a 12-year-old female.
The U.S. Attorney's Office estimates that 1 in 5 kids, aged 10 to 17, receive an internet sexual solicitation. Many fear law enforcement cannot keep up. So Von Erck says his 3,000 volunteers are trying to help. When they find what they believe to be an online predator, they call police.
And we get a hold of some really great law enforcement. In this case, the Jennings case, we got a hold of some really great law enforcement in Harris County, and now they're dealing with it.
On the website, the entire month-long cyber chat that allegedly involved Jennings is logged. Here are just a few excerpts that we can show you. The suspect, allegedly Jennings, types, "It's 1:16 here, and I need to get up in 4 hours to go to work." The volunteer, acting as a 12-year-old girl, replies, "It's 2 here. What kind of work do you do?" The suspect, "For the City of Houston." Volunteer, "Wow, that sounds important." The suspect, "Love you." Volunteer, "Love you too." Suspect says, "Good night." Volunteer, "Good night. Have a good Monday." The suspect replies, "I will dream of you tonight." The citizen volunteer says, "Ah, me too." Jennings is spending this night in the Harris County Jail. Well, there have been many complaints about pervertedjustice.com, basically say they're involved in entrapment. But when talking with its leader today, they said those entrapment complaints are no longer valid because the website itself has resulted in the 41 convictions in 23 states nationwide. Now, we want to tell you just a few minutes ago, we talked with Houston Attorney Don Becker, who sent me this email via the BlackBerry tonight. He says he is representing Mr. Thomas. He says he was arrested today as a result of false and defamatory information provided by a private vigilante group located in the northwest part of our country. Our investigation of Mr. Jennings' situation has revealed that the time he was allegedly chatting with the alleged 12-year-old female, he was out of town. We will keep you posted. Mr. Jennings, Thomas Jennings, is due in court on Thursday. We're live downtown. Jeff McShann, 11 News.
Harris County, Texas, one of my favorite jurisdictions, as they were the ones that picked up a Murphy, Texas predator later on and prosecuted him, getting him convicted easily, which was something media idiots attacking us over Murphy in general conveniently, very conveniently, never brought up in their articles smearing us over the nonsense decision by that shitbird Collin County District Attorney to not prosecute the guys from the Murphy sting. Harris County easily prosecuted the guy from their jurisdiction that showed up to that sting. They could have as well. This was Thomas Randall Jennings, aka Shine LFMC 2005, on the website. The chat we had with him was in July of 2005, and we posted him on Christmas Day of 2005. We had already shopped him to law enforcement. The particular law enforcement we were trying to work with about him showed only cursory interest in actually doing anything with it. We decided to post him and try to then force the issue. Given that his chat log was especially disturbing, and that he had tried to send our decoy what he claimed was child pornography, we were especially boggled by the slowness and seeming disinterest in the first police we took this case to. His chat log was voted in the top 10 of the worst chat logs we posted all the way up to our shutting down the website in 2019. It was especially vile as the decoy was of a 12-year-old, and Jennings asked the decoy all sorts of questions about the development of her body. Just straight up classic stereotypical pedophile jargon. Very, very gross. Jennings also claimed to have had sex with a 13-year-old and his niece. So again, the slowness of our initial contact caused us to just go ahead and post him. That turned out to be the right call. Our follow-up squad raised enough hell to get attention, finally, on this guy. Turned out, the solution was calling the head of a law enforcement associated motorcycle club that Jennings was a member of. The head of the motorcycle club raised hell to a different law enforcement agency that got involved and arrested Jennings shortly afterward. Yeah, I know, but it is true. A bunch of vigilantes having to call a motorcycle club president to get law enforcement to arrest a pedophile. Yeah, life was real strange back then sometimes. As the news piece clearly showed, his defense attorney was a real dummy. A dum-dum. A real dumb guy. The idiot took it to trial and lost. Jury came back almost instantly with a guilty verdict. If you go and read that chat on the Internet Archive, you would have also come back instantly with a guilty verdict. The big goal of Jennings was to avoid sex offender status. He appealed the sex offender status in 2009, 2010, and 2011, arguing that sex offender status was, at base, unconstitutional. Needless to say, he lost all his appeals. He also claimed ineffective counsel, so apparently he wasn't a fan of Don Becker either. His conviction basically came at the same time as the Murphy, Texas situation was blowing up, which was great timing. Well, let me restate, it should have been great timing. But by this point, truth mattered zero to the media, so there was never a mention of him in the pieces attacking us, despite the timing being absolutely impeccable in terms of him being found guilty. However, the media was so focused on attacking Dateline NBC that the facts regarding the bullshit of Jim Roach not charging the guy showing up was never seriously examined by media pieces at the time. Our work here with Jennings in Texas was a stark example that our evidence led to easy convictions in Texas. Despite the big talk of Texans online about how law and order their state is, you know, the old, "Hi boy, don't mess with Texas. Down here everything's bigger in Texas. We call them bear high. And We're law and order. We know how to take care of them criminals, not like those boys up in New York City or anywhere else in the country, 'cause we're Texans, and we're cowboys, and we got big hats, and we got six-shooters, boy, and we put 'em in jail. You know, despite all of that, old Jennings here was only sentenced to a term of 15 years on the sex offender registry. This at a time when most of the nation was doing lifetime registered sex offender sentences. So yeah, it's 2025. This monster is off of the registry now. Yay, Texas, you're so great about crime. Shockingly, this awful human being is still alive despite being now 73 years old. You'll be, I'm sure, positively elated to hear that he lives in a giant house valued at around $1 million. If you get time, go have a read of his chat, or wait for Morty on her chat log reading channel to cover his chat, as she's currently, as of this recording, working through doing all of the top 10 most slimy chat log series. Then realize that he is no longer a registered sex offender. Good job, Texas. Hey, speaking of disturbing human beings in Texas, we're going to head over to Lubbock, Texas for this next media story. Time to check in with a guy named Paul Mark Burton, who, despite his age of 23, will definitely make your blood turn cold when I go through all the details about this piece of shit after the video.
Channel 11 at 10.
Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Leading the news tonight, a Lubbock man is facing 100 years in prison after being accused of internet sex crimes with children.
The man indicted, 23-year-old Paul Mark Burton, was caught by an average citizen nearly 2,000 miles from Lubbock. News Channel 11's Jennifer Vogel joins us in the newsroom to explain how a group of vigilantes got together to keep predators away from kids. Jennifer?
Well, Karen and Abner, the website is called pervertedjustice.com, and it was started by 3 people who were fed up with going to online chat rooms and seeing adult men try to solicit sex from children. Now, this website was actually started in Portland, Oregon, and since has gone national thanks to a bunch of stories that were aired on NBC's Dateline. Now, tonight, we'll show you how this website and the people behind it have brought their cause to Lubbock.
I was a chatter myself in the Portland Yahoo regional room.
That's the voice of Xavier Von Erich. He started this website called Perverted Justice.
You would see actual teens come into the main area of the room, and males, even in the main area of the room where everyone could see, would just start soliciting them, would start trying to get them to come talk to them in private. So we got to see the problem up close and decided to do something about it.
He founded the website to try and persuade internet predators away from children. But his efforts led to a much bigger picture.
You pose naked on your webcam, so a 13-year-old girl could see it because you wanted to teach her a lesson.
Well, you can see her.
NBC's Dateline has been working on an ongoing series with Perverted Justice, where they reel predators in and set them up for a big surprise.
He's in for a big surprise when I walk in.
How are you tonight?
Like so many others, he says he wasn't really here for sex.
The watchdogs behind Perverted Justice led predators to believe they are minors. Once a predator strikes with inappropriate conversation, pictures, or video, the group sends the evidence to law enforcement.
A lot of these cases will stretch on for months and months of conversation, which not only helps make it a better case, but also allows the predator to, commit more crimes.
The watchdog group has to collect enough evidence to give to law enforcement to make a conviction. In Paul Burton's case, he used a webcam like this to allegedly send obscene video to what he thought was a 13-year-old girl. That sting operation by Perverted Justice led authorities straight to Burton's home in South Central Lubbock.
Burton got on what is called a webcam, and on Yahoo Chat, you can broadcast yourself live to other chatters. And Burton broadcasted himself in various states of undress to not only our decoy, but it looks like he's also done so with other minors.
The FBI report shows that Burton admitted to having sex chats with up to 30 female minors and 50 females over 18 years old. He chatted in a teen-only room and that's where he met his match that would end his online days.
We want parents to be able to see everything that these people say and everything they do, because you don't really get the flavor of how bad the internet is until you get the bitter taste of what we see as well.
Now, so far, the watchdogs have helped law enforcement get 42 convictions. It could grow to 43 if Paul Burton is convicted. Now, Burton has waived his right to a detention hearing, and he will stay in custody until his trial. Now, parents, this website is for you. We want to talk a little bit about the Perverted Justice website. We have it pulled up here, and it's perverted-justice.com. And you can actually go to the part where it says PJ Wankers. You actually click on one of the names, and then when you scroll down, you can see all of the conversation word for word. And if you keep scrolling down, there's actually some inappropriate pictures that we're not allowed to show you here at KCBD, but it will show you real live situations that your children could be put into. We will have a link to this on our website at kcbd.com. Kieran and Abner, back to you.
The reporter on this story was actually really good, earnest and ridiculously good looking. But boy, Lubbock didn't have much of a budget. That's the lowest energy and most mumbly introduction possible, and I'm an expert on mumbly introductions, man. Plus, the area they had her reporting from looked like a warehouse. I will give this station credit for one thing, though. All of their stories on this case are still on their website, which is pretty rare for a local news website to still have stories from almost 20 years ago online today. Paul Mark Burton was posted as Hum366 on the website. The chat took place in mid-2005, and the conviction was in February of 2006. Burton got on webcam and went to town on himself constantly during the chat, while trying to solicit our decoy character. Turns out Burton was very practiced at both things. You see, Paul Burton here was found to have talked to over 30 minors online, as he hung out in teen chats constantly on Yahoo. He had a large amount of child pornography on his computer, and, during the investigation, was found to have had sex with a minor that he had groomed online in the Yahoo rooms. Then he ran into us. To put a cherry on top, he tried to flee to Mexico after being charged by prosecutors, but was stopped from doing so. He was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. Could have been 87 years, really. He served around 6 years of his sentence. Because it was a federal case and not a Texas case, he got lifetime sex offender status, thankfully. Here's Burton on the sex offender registry with his most updated photograph from summer of 2024. He appealed years later after his conviction, both in 2008 and 2009, claiming ineffective counsel. His appeals were denied in 2010 because, God, what kind of fucking attorney could have got this guy up anyways, given all the evidence and everything this guy had pulled online? He was released from federal prison in May of 2012. Of course, though, it wouldn't be Texas without a bunch of nonsense to be included, right? Burton's family went on and on defending him locally. They bleated on about wanting to sue us, all sorts of delusional nonsense. You see, his father was a local pastor of some renown, so many locals didn't want to believe that his son could be such a fucking monstrous sexual predator. You know, despite the federal fucking conviction in his case. A conviction that was for child pornography, that showed him having met an actual online minor that he had sex with. Despite all of that, I would receive emails from locals in his area talking about his case and the various delusional lies the family would tell around town. Just another precious baby boy, of course. Today, Paul Mark Burton hangs out on Facebook. Of course, he doesn't go by Paul Mark Burton. He drops the last name and just goes by Paul Mark. He has a wife and 2 young daughters. Yeah, apparently men are in such short supply in Texas that even a dipshit like this can get a woman and have a family down there. Oh, Texas, whenever I feel that I can't think less of you, I always end up finding another reason to think less of you. Burton works with his older brother, selling vintage toys, religious junk, and other old junk on eBay and various other auction websites. He even does shows on Whatnot himself on his own account. Whatnot is a live streaming auction website where he sells various retro items he comes across. Has a show coming up next Tuesday, even. Hides his last name on there too, just goes by Paul. Guess he doesn't want people Googling his full name and seeing his lifetime registered sex offender profile, I'll give him one single thing, though. He was right to be apoplectic about that horrible Luka Doncic trade. Just unfortunate that he does so as a free man, when he should have gotten decades in prison, ideally. That was 6 media stories about 6 different cases, all of them having something or another that I found interesting. Did you find any of it interesting? I don't know. Also don't know if I should keep digging up what the end result was for people like this. Well, it's always cheerful to find out that they've died. The reality of this world and its seemingly lack of actual caring about sexual predators in society can be quite annoying sometimes as well. There's around 8 billion people on the planet, and people will still convince themselves to find reasons to associate with some of the worst people on it. Never will be able to accept that personally, and nobody can ever convince me that it isn't simply yet another stellar example of just how awful humanity is in general. I take my misanthropy black, no sugar, no cream. On my 8th supplemental video, we're headed to Herndon, Virginia for the second Dateline sting in August of 2005. Yep, the real birth of To Catch a Predator and all the craziness that would ensue. All the behind-the-scenes notes and a ton of details about the guys that didn't really make the air. The Dangerous Web Bethpage New York Dateline Supplemental was very long. I fear that the Dateline 2 Supplemental will be close to double the length, given that nearly everything about it is bigger, more complex, and far more prepared for than our first go-around with Dateline was. Until then, I'm Xavier Von Erck. Thanks for watching.
nice things act sad. Even when it's a piece of shit like Conrad. Think twice, man, people will think you're it bad. Mask off, full misanthrope. 8 billion on the planet supposed to care about some dope. That was a KP having soliciting bandit. Only one word for that shit: nope. Hope he felt every bit bullet. I'm glad that he's dead. I really didn't fucking care when he blew off his head. Hope a snot flew out his ear as his walls painted fully red. When Conrad reached his nadir, saw some moron use the word tragedy. Made me laugh to myself savagely. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That's a shameless level of perfidy. Let me give it to you very candidly. Maybe you should take a look around humanity. RSF committing years-long genocide in Sudan. Civil war causing people to starve in Yemen. Women can't even talk in Afghanistan. Ukraine under attack by Putin's henchmen. You have gotta be a complete simpleton to think a tragedy is a guy ducking becoming a felon. One more dead by choice sexual predator, only still known because the media used him to create problems for their rival, a distractor. From work that was filling prisons to their brim, objections only made because T-Cop was popular. Suicides of better people daily, truth very grim.
I'm glad that he's dead. I didn't fucking care when he blew off his head. Hope his snot flew out his ear. All his walls painted red as Conrad reached his nadir.
Hundreds exposed on TV and almost all cuffed. Few suicides among the most still alive. Yet the bullshit artist in the media huffed. What a tragedy it was, his life deprived. No more minors for him to try to get stuff. Acts of media would have preferred to connive.
If it makes me a bad person to not give a fuck when it comes to KP having shitters like Louis, a guy trying to drag others down into the muck, abusive, predatory, perverted and classless, throwing away everything for an underage suck. Call me a bad guy all day.
Glad he didn't miss. Only a few things in the world that are black and white. Zebras, pandas, penguins, and sex predators eating their gun. Yeah, it didn't help me. Was a long friggin' fight. Would rather him have gone to jail for a long run. His corruption dragged out right into the light. But that was his decision. He chose his own fun.
I'm glad that he's dead. I didn't fucking care when he blew off his head. Hope his snot flew out his ear. All his walls painted red as Conrad reached his nadir.
So say what you want all these decades later. Cry pathetic crocodile tears on a documentary. Think that it makes people nothing but a hater. But this shit is real simple, even elementary. When a bullet splits the skull of an immoral traitor, only real loss is a single dirt patch in a cemetery.